So this Binghamton City Council work session today is Monday, January 6th. I'm going to call the meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Madam Clerk, can I get a roll call, please?
Absolutely. Councilmember Porter,
Present.
Councilmember Middleton, Councilmember Kavanaugh is absent, Councilmember Rathmel,
Present.
Councilmember Matavetsky is absent, Councilmember Hotchkiss,
Present.
Council President Dundon.
Present.
Thank you.
Councilmember Rebecca Rathmel, I'm going to pass this over to you as we're waiting for Kavanaugh, since you are on the Finance Committee.
Oh, goodness. First work session in, huh? No finance committee meeting yet, but sure, I can read it. So we are discussing RL 2501, an ordinance to authorize a 2.91% CPI adjustment for the Binghamton Johnson City Joint Sewage Treatment Plant active hourly personnel for the 2025 budget year. Our presenter this evening is Billy Goodson. Hi. Thank you for coming. Could you give us a brief overview of the RL?
Yes, back in November, we made an adjustment to the hourly rates based on the CPI increase. We got approval in December from City Council, and I had to wait for that approval before I could come back to make the adjustment for 2025.
Now, from my understanding, this is something you guys do every year with the CSEA members, correct?
As long as this contract is in place, yes. I think this is the last year of the CPI increase or of the contract.
Just to point out in the summary, there is no change to the position count or personnel services budget amount for 2025.
Correct.
Billy, would you happen to know if, so when this ends, is that because the CSEA CBA agreement ends and then it all gets renegotiated, or is it just the last year for the CPI adjustment?
The renegotiations will start in 2025. Hopefully. To start in 2026.
I don't have any other questions. Does anybody else?
No.
I do see on this, there is, it's asking for expedition. Can I get a motion to expedite?
I'll make the motion.
Second. A motion and a second. Do we have any discussion on the motion to expedite? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, can we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Porter,
Aye.
Councilmember Middleton, Councilmember Kavanaugh is absent, Councilmember Rathmel,
Aye.
Councilmember Matavetsky is absent, Councilmember Hotchkiss.
Aye.
Council President Dundon.
Aye.
Thank you. That is 5-0.
We'll be moving on to the following finance, and we'll actually wait 1 second. And I'll hand this off to the finance chair, Councilman Robert Kavanaugh.
Apologize for my tardiness. Okay, so, hi, Billy.
Hi.
So RL 25-02. Increasing chemicals and decreasing electricity. So usually we're increasing both of those things.
Not this time. Elliot's here to explain why we had an increase in our chemicals for December.
Good evening. For the month of October and November, we took in 170 tons more solids that we had to centrifuge. And with that, it increased our polymer consumption. We did not foresee that at all. And that does not include the month of December. All of those months also had a little bit higher rainfall than normal. It's probably why it cleaned out the collection system.
Just that additional rainfall was enough to bring in that many extra solids, or was it a particular source or incident, or we don't know?
We have no idea. We just take what comes to us and deal with it the best we can.
By decreasing the 85,000 on electricity, is that something that you guys might get stuck having to make up down the road?
No, I waited until after we got our December bill for NICEAG before I came with this number.
So this will stock up, top off the stockpile for a little while, or chemical wise, or?
Polymer is done monthly. We usually do about $100,000 in polymer a month, but this month we ended up doing significantly more than that.
It's about 150 to 160,000 in chemical cost per month. In December, we had to expend 210,000.
I know.
Any other questions? No.
I had a question. I think I remember that you were a previous RL where I think you were increasing the money that needed to be spent on electricity because of the wet weather events, and needing to run pumps more, or everything having to go more. But now we're able to decrease it. Is it just, I don't know.
So with the increase of solids
Uh,
that we send to our digesters, we actually were able to produce a better quality gas.
Cool.
When
So
we
the
were,
micro turbines are working better?
yes,
Okay, amazing.
we've
Okay.
had 3 micro turbines running pretty consistently for the last couple of months.
Awesome. I was just looking at your 5-year plan, so I'm gonna have a bunch of questions for you in the future.
Seeing nobody else has any other questions, I do see that this was asked to be expedited. Can I get a motion for expedition?
I'll make the
Expedition, please.
motion.
In a second, please.
I'll second.
Hearing a motion in a second, any discussion? Seeing no discussion, Madam Clerk, can we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Porter,
Aye.
Councilmember Middleton.
Aye.
Councilmember Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Councilmember Rathmel.
Aye.
Councilmember Matavetsky is absent. Councilmember Hotchkiss.
Aye.
Council President Dundon.
Aye.
Thank you. That is 6-0.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So the next will be RL 25-03. The presenter will be John Solak, and with Councilmember Matavetsky being absent, I will turn this over to Councilman Rob Kavanaugh.
Rules. All right. So we have a citizen submitted request for legislation, RL 25-03, a local law to amend the structure of Corporation Council. Mr. Solak is here to present his idea for legislation. Welcome.
You doing? You're actually my councilman.
Yes.
The City of Binghamton is the only municipality other than the county that has an in-house taxpayer-funded law firm. The only one. If we look at the town of Union, what do they have? Well, they have more people. They have the same community development block grants. They have ARPA money, all the compliance issues that come with being an entitlement community, which they are also. And they have private attorneys handling with an RFP their legal things. If we look at the villages, not the villages in Florida, but the villages of Johnson City and Endicott, they have outside legal help and village attorneys, and they have police department, fire department, all the same union negotiations. So I think it begs the question, why do we have a corporation council? I know why we had it years ago. We had a hospital and a school district and, 80,000 people, 72,000 people. So, and what set this off in my mind is the increased spending on outside counsel. You go to Syracuse and you see those tip tops of those skyscrapers and they're the big law firms. So where the money's going. It's going to Syracuse and Rochester, not Binghamton. And over the years, I've talked to many of these people that represent the school districts and local governments. I can't help but, and we've had conversations, and everything seems to go smoothly. In addition, I'll just toot my own horn here. Last 10 or 12 years, I said, what did I do with all that time? What did I accomplish? And then I finally landed on the fact that I generated tens of millions of dollars worth of legal fees. So that was my accomplishment as a class representative. And that's what you do. You ride herd on the attorneys. You say, hey, fellas, you can't find a $500 room. It's always got to be the $1,000 room, things like that. So I think this is the way to go. You can RFP this out piecemeal, and again, these towns and villages around here aren't falling apart. They enforce code. They deal with the federal and state government. So they have union negotiations. So they're functioning very well. And in addition, and you'd be surprised how much money you're going to save, because you're not going to be hooked up to any pension benefits. These firms work on their own, and you'll be also surprised, because we're in the Zoom era now, how much interest you're going to get from places as far away as Albany. I mean, I don't know how the Corporation Council spends its day, and that's another element of this. You get a bill from a law firm, and it's down to 1/6 of an hour now. There's no more of this. Well, I was working on your case. How about an hour? For the firm. I mean, it doesn't work like that. So how do you, and if you go to a village meeting or a town meeting, what you'll see is the disbursements to the attorneys, and you'll see what they worked on that month. I mean, does anybody know what the Corporation Council did today? How they spent their 1/6 of an hour today? You don't. So it's a taxpayer fund. And look, again, maybe I'm repeating myself. I'm old, but
I'm sorry. I just had a question. So if there's an emergency, lawfully, would you have a plan for that? Because what if we can't get in touch with an outside counsel? Don't you think it'd be good to have it in-house, or do you propose something?
no, it's another level of a gatekeeper.
Oh, okay.
And it's a middleman. You will have a yearly contract, or even a longer contract. I wouldn't suggest more than 2 years. And you would pay an hourly rate. Some of them come to the meeting, some of them don't. They got nailed about 30 years ago. Every town attorney was trying to claim that they were an employee of the town, and there was a big scandal with the pensions. But they're independent contractors. And here's another thing. A lot of times in legal work, you don't know whether it's good, or it's not like art. You don't know whether it's good until it's tested. And that comes many years later, perhaps, when stuff hits the fan. And if you hire a private law firm, you get their errors and omissions, you get their malpractice. So if there's a snafu, it doesn't come back to haunt the city. Hey, fellas, here's our contract. We hired you, and we expect to be reimbursed on this or that. But the legal bills are thing. And another thing is about this, and this goes back a ways, because I talk about this government here since 1959. But people have come to this council meeting and said, how do I get in touch with the Corporation Council? Because the phone number, the email is not available. I mean, it should be easy enough for a citizen. The same thing you call the public works if you're steamed about something. If there's a matter for the Corporation Council, an ordinary citizen the email shouldn't be a secret. The phone number shouldn't be a secret. I mean, him and Howard and Cattell is listed. So, this is an area where You just judging by what these village attorneys and what these town attorneys, and the rates are going to be compressed. There's not going to be a wide fluctuation in the hourly rates, but you're going to get a resume of somebody that's dealing with the same issues. I go to the Binghamton School District, one day I called the council for them. I had a pretty good relationship with the last council. And I said, well, why don't you show up at the meetings? He says, well, they don't want me there. He says, because they want to do it. I said, okay, I just wanted to check. So, but you have your freedom and your wiggle room, and there's absolutely no reason. I mean, look at the city school district budget. Look at all the complexities of that, the liabilities and everything else. You got to say, well, why do we have this? We don't need it. We'll save money. And if you throw it out there for a referendum thing, but I would suggest the immediate thing on this is that you have itemized billing and you have an accounting for time, because that's what they're selling you. They're selling you their legal time. And one last thing, and again, because this is what riled me up. The state office building and all the toxic material and stuff like that, that case took like 10, 20, 30 years to settle. And there was payouts. I don't know from who, from the material makers or something. But I was astounded that the city didn't even have a claim in. They did not even have a claim in. So they got no reimbursement. We had firemen, we had all kinds of people, all kinds of claims can be generated from these things when these tragedies happen. But the city didn't even have a claim in. So like I say, I've known most of these people, or I know of them. My next door neighbor was the corporation counsel for 3 or 4 years. It's mostly a patronage job, mostly a reward job. Matt Ryan lucked out with Ken Frank because he lasted a minute, and the guy came here from Newburgh and he knew what he was doing, So that's it.
Jen, you mentioned Binghamton being the only municipality in Broome. Are you aware whether in other counties it's common practice, or is there a similar?
No,
difference?
Well, I mean, most of them, most of them are represented by outside attorneys, and the actual important matters, the bond counsel, I mean, the more financially involved matters, litigation, it always goes to outside counsel. So, I mean, what are we doing? What kind of legal services, I mean, you could probably have a paralegal in there, I mean, I don't know, but I don't see it. I don't see it. If everybody else gets along with it.
So, because I'm thinking, because I know that our corp counsel's like kind of perplexed, like they handle everything, like all the court things. So you're saying that it would be cheaper for outside counsel than to have corporation counsel?
Yeah, because, you don't, 20 years ago, I think, it wasn't Bob Murphy, it was the guy before him, Kevin, I think his name was. They were doing trials for the city in federal court. The city was. There's no outside counsel, no other extra bill. So now we're not doing that. If I get a hangnail, I'm going to take you to thing, and you're going to have to hire Harris Beach or whoever you hire, or Beach Harris or whatever they are. So, this is, number one, the outside counsel costs are out of control. They're out of control. So when that happens, you say, well, wait a minute. We got an in-house law firm here. It's not serving to our advantage because everything is going out to Syracuse, Rochester, Albany, wherever. So, I mean, and as far as the littler work, the code and that kind of stuff, that can be handled. And let me say one other thing. Business people, personal people, people with a beef with the city, if you have 2 private lawyers representing each thing, it goes a lot smoother than a government lawyer. Because there's a certain amount of machismo or whatever you want to call it. This is the government. You're not going to do this to us. Otherwise, attorneys get together and they resolve the matter quickly, because don't forget, you're watching the bills and according to the contract, and you're watching this and you're saying, hey, how we doing on that? I hate to tell you, well, we're not going to get, that's a school district matter, but I mean, they got a bill for one matter that's this big. but you don't save anything. The only way you save is if you had an attorney that said, hey, we're going to the mat on this one. I'm going to do the case. You know, you don't have that. It's outside counsel. So I think it's a duplication.
Does anybody else have any questions for John? John, I want to make a statement to you because this needs a referendum.
Right.
And I think it needs a lot of work. I'm going to talk to Councilmember Matavetsky, but I'm thinking about putting this back into committee because obviously for the matters of the 1/6 of an hour and everything, we would have to do our due diligence. And if we were going to push this forward, we would want to make sure that it was going to be cost effective. So
Okay.
much, Sean. Have a
got-
good night.
I got one last thing. Well, I think this might be the third referendum
Right.
this come from you.
Right.
How does it rank against the other ones in terms of, you have the city manager, the
Chief
public
of
safety
police, yeah.
officer?
Yeah.
How would you prioritize this up against the other ones?
Well, that's a tough call. I prioritize. Let me see if I can say it because there's people that can't say nuclear, so I'll prioritize it. How about that? A lucky one. Yeah, I'd say this one would be the number one priority.
No,
Oh,
this one?
okay.
Over blue bags?
Huh?
Over blue bags?
Yeah.
I know, but.
Yeah,
I'm just
yeah,
messing, I'm just
yeah.
messing,
No,
I'm just messing.
it's, I mean, I think you should get all the bills and say, hey, this is, I mean, you know, the budget, but look at those bills. Just go and look at them and see what you're being charged for,
Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much
Yeah,
for hearing
thank you.
me out.
Yeah, thank you
John,
so much for coming, John.
Thank you so
Okay.
much.
And with that, can I get a motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion.